maybe what we can do is just go ahead and start. Each of these sessions are a lot shorter than our keynote speaker was, and I thought he did an awesome job. I learned a lot of things, took a lot of notes. Hope you did as well. But today with us, I'm Steve Thomas. I'm with Utah Manufacturers Association, and I'll be hopefully running track D competently today so we can all learn and participate and learn from our presenters here today. I'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, our now CFO, our platinum sponsor, and our silver event sponsor of Boeing. That obviously helps us make this thing possible and helps us so we can learn and experience and communicate with one another, at least to a certain extent. So first of all, I'd just kind of like to introduce Bryant Vasquez. He's from the University of Utah. Brian, if you want to flip to your next screen, it'll show the bio for you on there. He's works for the University of Utah Manufacturers Exchange Partnership and helps us to assist our manufacturers throughout the state and through that endeavor. And so he's going to be speaking to us today a little bit on manufacturing, main cyber threats and countermeasurements. And I'm going to be taking notes on this too. So I think it's a very important topic, and I hope you go ahead and take notes as well. If you get and want to ask a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. And then Bryant, if you'll allow us a little couple minutes at the end, maybe we can pick up a few if you wouldn't mind answering those for us. But at this time, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the intro. And yes, so yeah, today I'm going to be talking about the manufacturing main cyber threats and what to do to protect yourself against those cyber threats out there. As you know, this year has been wild, and it's been just a big opportunity for cyber attacks. And the manufacturing industry it's big around the country and the world, and it's the second most target industry out there. And one reason why it's important to know how to protect the manufacturing industry is because small and medium-sized manufacturers are the prime target for cyber attacks, according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Because of many adequate preventive measurements in place, manufacturers is the second most target industry, according to the Accenture research they have done this year. And only 14% of small business are prepared to defend themselves against cyber attacks, which is a little bit concerning. And as we know, the most target industry beside manufacturing, the number one is the healthcare industry. Okay, so I'll give a little bit of an outline of what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to talk about the cybersecurity outlook to see what's out there going on. We're going to talk about the main threats for our industry, the manufacturing industry. What's a risk? What's compromise? What's the main motivation of these attacks? What are the different security solutions that we can implement, and how to adopt a security framework, specifically the 800-171, what areas to pay attention with those security controls, and how to mitigate that 2020 cyber threats for the manufacturing industry. Okay, so what's going on out there with the with the security overall in general? So cybercrime damage will cost the world $6 trillion annually by next year. That's a big concern. We need to be prepared for that. And also the global average cost of data breaches for the 2018 study is 3.92 million. And cybercrime will more than triple the number of field cybersecurity jobs, which is concerning because that means we got more cyber threats than cyber experts out there. And the next one, human attack surface to reach 6 billion people by 2022. So what's a human attack surface? That term in security means any human error. That could be misconfiguration of security technologies. It could be not paying attention to something that you should be paying attention, or like reusing your password over and over in different places. Like it could be any human vulnerability created by humans. So what that means is that 77% of the worldwide population is going to be affected by cyber attacks. Okay, average ransomware payment increased 13%, and I want to talk a little more, expand a little bit about ransomware, because it's a big thing this year. But the interesting thing about ransomware this year is that the number of attacks is smaller compared to the previous years. But it's a big thing because the ransom that they are asking, the number is bigger, has been increasing. So now they are targeting more. Instead of targeting everybody out there, individual people, they are targeting businesses because they can ask for more money. And that way they have been organized to target specific businesses. And manufacturing industry is a big target. Okay, and as you can see, ransomware is the #1 threat for small businesses right now. And also, so by 2021, it's expected that every business is going to receive every 11 seconds is going to receive a new cyber attack. So that means there are different automated script kiddies out there, which is cyber criminal tools to attack, and they're going to be pinging different networks out there. Okay, so having said that, okay, so what are the main threats for manufacturers out there? So crimeware is the first thing. So crimeware is a type of malware. This is a malware that anybody can go and buy in the black market. This type of malware is designed, you don't need to have much skills to use it. All you have to know is just learn how to use it, and it has pre-built attacks that you can purchase specifically and then target any specific network. And it's gonna try to use different techniques out there. The second one is password dumper malware. So this one, it's in charge of try to collect passwords from individual systems. That could be servers, that could be individual client computers. And the reason of why they try to do that is because there is an analogy out there. Pretend that somebody break into your house, and the first thing that person does is go for your keys and try to look for your spare key. Once they get a hold of that spare key, then they can come back anytime they want it to your house and steal whatever they wanted, or come back anytime and you will notice it because they are going to have a copy of your spare key. So that's huge. Also, 55% of the attacks is stolen credentials. That's getting emails, getting usernames, and getting passwords. And the other one is internal employee misuse of data. So there are two types of users that you gotta be careful. Is careless users. Those are those users that don't have any cybersecurity awareness. They don't know what's right, what's wrong when it comes to technology, and that can be very dangerous. And the third is malicious users, people who want to retaliate against your business. Okay, so what's a risk? First of all, you need to understand risk. So how risk gets measured. So easy way to see it is you need to know your industry first. First, you need to know your threats. So we just barely learned about the threats specifically for the manufacturing industry. Then you gotta know your vulnerabilities. What different vulnerabilities you have internally. Once you know those two things, then you can implement security controls. Those security controls are gonna help you to reduce your risk. Okay, so what's a risk? So your system, your network overall, servers, clients, phones, IoT devices, and the goal is the data. That's what they are after. They want your data because that's where the money is. Okay, so the main motivation of these attacks is 73% of these attacks are motivated due to financial reasons, like we know ransomware. They want to get your money. If you want to get if you want to get your data back, you gotta pay some ransom. 27% of these attacks is cyber espionage, which is huge. So that means different um, countries trying to steal data. And one of the main reasons they are after IP, because if they can get your proprietary information, how to build X and Y, they can reproduce it cheaply and they don't have to pay for engineers to design it. Okay, so now we know the threats. Now we know how to measure risk. Okay, so how do we fix this specific threat? Okay, so you can come up with security solutions, like you can limit administrator accounts on your local system. You can use a good antivirus. You can implement email filtering. You can avoid downloading unknown attachment from different resources. You can implement password hygiene, train your workforce on how to do that. You can implement multi-factor authentication. So in case a password is compromised, you have a second measurement of protection. You have another layer of protection. You can put security policies in place, security trainings. You can encrypt all your data, and you name all the security solutions. But well, yes, you can come up with these solutions, but still a little messy, right? You need something to be organized. And that's why we recommend to adopt a security framework. So you can organize and cover all your bases. And the NIST cybersecurity framework is designed to do that. And I want to talk a little bit more about this framework and how it works. So this framework is designed to help you to identify and discover your network, your system, your data, your people. And once you know that, then you know how to protect those resources and those assets. And that's going to help you to detect different attacks. And that's going to help you to be ready to respond to any attack and know how to react, how to have an incident response plan in case, let's see, you come up Monday morning, you find all your systems infected with ransomware. So what do you do? If you have a security framework, you're going to know how to respond and how to react to that. And then you're going to have a plan to recover and get back to business. So that's why it's important to have a cybersecurity framework, and that framework is going to help you to be prepared, organized, and everybody's know how to react to any incident. Okay, so for manufacturers, we recommend a few security frameworks from NIST. So the first one is NIST Special Edition 800-171. And this one is designed for manufacturers who are in the Department of Defense supply chain. If you're not in the DoD supply chain, you can adopt NIST IR 8183. That's the cybersecurity framework for manufacturing profile. Or you can adopt the NIST IR 7621, which is Small Business Information Security Fundamentals. And I'll expand a little more on the SP 800-171. This framework has 14 security family controls. Each security control has a derived security controls. In total, there are 110 security controls that you can implement in your business. The first one is access control. Access control teach you how to allow only those who need to have access to different resources in your business. Awareness and training, that one is saying, make sure that your workforce know the basics of cybersecurity in general. So they know how to act and how to perform the job and be cyber secure. Added in accountability, what that means is that you are able to save logs and all information. So whenever there is an event, you can connect that event to a user or to a service. Configuration management. Configuration management is saying, make sure you have documentation on the different states of your technologies. And whenever there's a change or an update that you need to implement, you have documentation and you review it, and you make sure before making any changes that you review and you agree and you know that it won't affect your identification and authentication is making sure that you are able to identify those who need to have access to your system. You're able to authenticate them, and that way you only allow those who need to have access to your system, and that goes along with access control. Incident response. So incident response is huge. So incident response is going to teach you how to react, how to identify say information technology events, because you can have different events, but at what point it's an incident. So that's how you're going to have step by steps on how to identify an event, how to react, how to investigate it, how to save logs, and how to identify if it is an incident, how to report those incidents to law enforcement, and how to recover and get back to business. Maintenance. That one is going to teach you how to implement maintenance, how to update your system, how often you are going to be doing in reviewing your system. Media protection. Media protection is going to teach you how to handle CDs, USB drives, thumb drives, any type of mobile media. Personal security is how to protect your personal information, how to protect your people. Physical protection. So this one is huge, and whenever we talk about cybersecurity, we forget about physical protection. How we protect our buildings, how do we keep track of who is entering and what time they are leaving, where do they have access to, what doors need to be locked, what rooms need to have a specific access. So that's huge. Physical protection is one of the first things that you should be taking care of, and then moving into the logical piece. So remember physical and then logical. Risk assessment. It's measuring all of the above, knowing your risk, specifically to your business. What's a risk and how do you measure it? And I talked a little bit about that before, is knowing your threats, knowing your vulnerabilities, and knowing what you have in place to control those threats. Security assessment is running some type of assessment against all your technologies. This includes running penetration testing to check the hardness of your security system. System and communication protection. That means that you need to protect all the different systems in your network and how your network communicates to other networks. System information integrity. This one is just saying, learn how to protect and make sure that your systems don't receive any change that they shouldn't be receiving, that your data doesn't receive any change that doesn't need to be changed, that nobody deletes data that shouldn't be deleted. Okay, so going back to the main threats that we have. So we talk about one of the threats is password. Like, okay, so the Department of Defense, they did a survey and they tried to identify out of these 14 family security controls, which ones are the ones that most businesses forget about it or don't pay close attention to it. And they come up with this list. So the first one they said is access control. A lot of people forget about implementing multi-factor authentication. They don't have policies on password, how to have a secure password in your business, how to enforce that. Just to talk more about that, secure password is something above 12 characters. But if you want to be more secure, you want to go to 16 characters or even 25 characters, and you don't have to worry much about that. System lockout. How many times do you walk away from your computer and you leave it unlocked and the system won't automatically lock it up? So that's one of the things that you gotta pay attention. Is like you want to create group policies if you have Active Directory and enforce that. And the least privilege, which means only allow to have access to perform their roles. A lot of the time, employees are going to have more access than what they need to perform their job. And that way they compromise a lot of data. Risk assessment and mitigation. There is evidence that a lot of businesses don't have a risk assessment. They don't know how to manage the risk. But if you implement this framework, you're going to learn how to do that. And also taking care of removal media, how to handle the media. and third-party activity. This one is huge. A lot of the time, yes, you can protect your business, but how do you make sure that your partners, whoever you're doing business with, they are also following the same security practices? A while ago, when Target was breached, one of the main reasons was one of their HVAC vendors was weak, and they didn't have a good security enforcement, and that's how hackers got into it. They compromised the HVAC system network, and that's how they were able to get into Target's network. Okay, system activity log review. Yes, you can be saving all your logs, but how often do you review them? And the framework is saying that you should have a schedule how often you're going to review the different activities, and that way you know what's going on in your network. Okay, and from out of these 14 security controls, these are the ones that you should be looking at if you want to protect against the 2020 cyber threat for manufacturing. Access control, again, limiting the rights. You want to look into system information integrity, guard again improper modification or changes in your system, and security awareness training. Make sure that you train your workforce at least once a year on general cybersecurity best practices. Identification and authentication, implement multi-factor authentication. Make sure you have a good password policies in place. And if you have a multi-factor authentication, you have a second layer of protection. If anybody's username and password is compromised in a different data breach, they won't be able to get into your network, or it's going to be harder to get for them to get into your network because you have another layer of protection against those attacks. And how to protect your data. The best way to do that is by encrypting your data. Encrypting your data at rest, encrypting your data at motion, encrypting your backups. It's going to be huge. Okay, and we got 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask those. Steve, I think you got to unmute yourself.
There we go. I guess
There
that's all right. Go ahead, and if you have questions for Bryant, go ahead and put them in chat. I'll go ahead and read them to him. And thanks everybody for being here today. Does anybody have any questions for Bryant? So while I've got everybody's attention, and while you're thinking of possibly having a question to ask, we're also giving away little prizes during the sessions. So we're giving away a FedEx Hershey gift basket. That's really cool. I've seen their gift baskets before and at other events I've been at. So this will go to Kelly Origin. I'm sorry if I got the last name wrong or that. I'll go ahead and.
No, you hit it right on the nose.
Did I hit it okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. Well, that's good. So anyway, we have your information, so we'll be getting that to you. And then also Joe Hadley, we've going to present you as a sock and face mask combo thing. So
great, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for attending today and everything. So let's see. So I got a message, a question from Chris Badger. Thanks, Chris. It just says, what is the minimum insurance you would get for a manufacturing company? Do you have any idea on that, Bryant?
So that's gonna depend based on your risk assessment. So the first thing I will do is run a risk assessment and then identify your asset, identify your data, how valuable it is to you and what that means. And based on that, you're gonna identify how much your cyber insurance should be.
Okay. Any other questions? So maybe what we can do is I'll go ahead and Bryant, thank you so much for presenting today. We really appreciate the topic you gave us and the insight on what we need to do.
Yeah, you're welcome. And feel free to send me an email if you have any questions down the road.